Some stories don't begin with explosions or scandals. They begin with a small shift, so quiet that even the person living through it doesn't notice the magnitude until everything around them has already changed. That's what happened to Faye Peraya. Her breakthrough wasn't dramatic, but her setback. That hit differently. It didn't strike like lightning. It seeped in like a slow fog that clouded everything she thought she understood about herself, her future, and the person she was becoming. For years, Faye had built a rhythm. A steady pulse of shoots, schedules, endorsements, live streams, and public appearances. She was never the type to brag about her achievements, but she felt secure. Secure in her craft, secure in her trajectory, secure in the knowledge that her name carried weight. And then, almost as if someone had flipped a switch behind the scenes, the momentum that once followed her so naturally began slipping away. No warnings. No dramatic announcement. Just opportunities gradually fading, calls slowing down, and a contract, one she relied on, quietly falling apart. Losing a contract might sound like business. But for someone's identity, it hits like heartbreak. Faye didn't just lose paperwork. She lost the structure that held up her confidence. She lost the validation she rarely admitted she cared about. She lost something that had become a part of her sense of purpose. And when that kind of loss happens, it isn't loud. It's internal. It's the kind of pain that sits behind the eyes, that shows up in the way a person breathes before they speak, that hides in the hesitation between sentences. She didn't tell many people. She didn't know how. How do you explain something that feels bigger than words? How do you admit that your career, which once felt stable and promising, suddenly feels blurry? And how do you explain the fear that comes with that uncertainty, the fear of slowing down, the fear of watching others move ahead, the fear of disappointing those who believed in you? But perhaps the hardest part was how it spilled into her dynamic with Yoko Apasra. Their bond, once warm and effortless, became caught in the crossfire of Faye's internal struggle. They had been close enough for fans to sense it, close enough for their interactions to spark conversations, edits, theories, and admiration. But real life is never as simple as a clip, a smile, or a moment captured on camera. When Faye's confidence cracked, she began pulling away, not out of anger but out of fear. Fear that her emotional storm would spill into that connection. Fear that her vulnerability would make her look weak. Fear that Yoko, who always seemed calm and collected, would start seeing her differently if she revealed how lost she felt. So she hid behind silence. She masked her exhaustion with short replies. She pretended she was busy even when she wasn't. She avoided conversations about work because every question felt like a reminder of what she had lost. And without meaning to, she began creating distance between herself and the person who cared about her the most. Yoko noticed everything. Every shift. Every pause. Every moment where Faye smiled. But the smile didn't reach her eyes. She noticed the late replies that used to come instantly. The cancelled plans. The conversations that felt thinner, shorter, less alive. And though Yoko didn't push, the silence between them grew heavier. It wasn't a breakup. It wasn't conflict. It was something far more complicated. Two people standing on opposite sides of the same storm but unable to reach through the wind. Fans felt it too. They sensed the shift in energy, the missing spark, the quietness that wasn't there before. Curiosity turned into speculation, and speculation turned into concern. But behind that public noise, there was something much more human happening. Faye had begun searching for her own identity again. When a person loses something important, the world expects them to bounce back immediately. But healing isn't instant. Faye went through the stage of blame, then fear, then doubt, and finally, the hardest one, reflection. She asked herself difficult questions. Was she doing things because she loved them, or because her career demanded it? Was she following her passion, or following a path that had been handed to her? Had she been so busy being Faye Peraya, that she forgot who she truly was behind the spotlight? It was painful, but it was necessary. Slowly, quietly, she began rebuilding. Not her career first, but herself. She started learning again, practicing again, planning again. Not the type of plans shaped by pressure or expectation, but the kind built from honesty. She began exploring new opportunities that felt more personal. She started entertaining ideas she once ignored. She began thinking about her future not from fear, but from curiosity. And as she grew, something else softened within her. She realized she didn't need to shut out the people who cared. She didn't need to pretend she was okay. Vulnerability didn't make her weak. It made her real. And somehow, without loud conversations or dramatic reunions, the distance between her and Yoko began to shift. Yoko didn't pressure her. Yoko didn't demand explanations. She simply remained present in quiet ways, checking in without expectations, offering comfort without conditions, supporting Faye without turning her pain into pity. This wasn't a love story. This wasn't a fan fantasy. This was real human connection. Messy, imperfect, and still incredibly meaningful. What the world is witnessing now is not the end of Faye and Yoko. It's the transformation of their bond. The version built not on constant interaction, but on understanding. The version that survives silence. The version that waits through uncertainty. The version that grows even when life pulls them in different emotional directions. Faye is stepping into a new chapter, one shaped by her own voice, her own pace, and her own truth. And Yoko is becoming a part of that chapter in a new way. Not as a savior, not as a shadow, but as someone who respects the space Faye needs while still staying emotionally close. The world loves drama, but the real story here is resilience. Quiet kind. The kind that doesn't ask for applause. The kind that builds slowly until one day, people look back and realize something powerful emerged from the hardest moment. Faye lost a contract, but she gained clarity. She lost momentum, but she gained direction. She lost certainty, but she gained a deeper understanding of herself. And through all of it, Yoko didn't leave. She simply adjusted, supporting from wherever Faye allowed her to stand. This is not a fall. This is the beginning of a comeback. One built on truth. One built on growth. One built on a connection strong enough to withstand the storm. And the most beautiful part. The world is only seeing the surface. The real transformation is happening quietly. Exactly the way powerful stories often begin.